Every day, we build the world around us.
But who's checking in on us?
Welcome to Built For Us.
It's a brand new podcast.
Built by construction workers for construction workers.
It's our own honest space.
There's no scripts, there's no suits. It's just
Real talk about mental health, stress,
And showing up for each other.
Hi guys, welcome back to Built For Us, the podcast for construction workers, by construction workers, an honest space for us to talk. My name's Steve Kirby. Hopefully you've seen me before. I wanted to introduce you to Clive, or let Clive introduce himself. So,
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, mate. My name's Clive Branson. I'm an inspirational speaker. I've done a lot of work in both construction and health and safety. So it's a real pleasure to be part of this wonderful podcast that's all about encouraging us to talk.
and if there's one thing that we enjoy doing, I've spoke to you a few times, Clive, is we can talk for England.
Yeah, this
So-
could be a long one, Steve.
So yeah, for everyone listening, this podcast is aimed just literally real stories, real talk, our own topics. There's no script. We kind of get put into the room and then it's up to us. So I'm going to hand it to you and see where you want to go with this.
Thanks, Steve. Well, I think, one of the things we've spoke about previously is different ways, shall I say, that we have been mentored through our careers. And sometimes there's some real good, positive mentors out there, whether they realize it or not. That's because they're real people. They speak to you on a level and they show levels of empathy, and they respect if you're new or if you're learning or whatever. But there's also an awful lot of people, particularly on construction sites, that are very dogmatic. And they're very much do as I say, not what I do. And they're not actually teaching you anything, but they're also applying pressure. Now, just one example from my own personal experience, and it's going back a number of years now, but I was working with a roofing company, and the guy that was in charge for that day was very much of the view that he's been doing this for 25 years. Nobody could possibly know more about both the product and the process than him. So it's do it his way. If you've got a problem, we'll talk about it later, but not now. Just do it my way. And
Get it done.
Yeah, and there was a team of probably say 6 of us on this particular project. But Steve, we were all different ages, different levels, different skill sets, different experience on that specific job. That didn't matter, not to the guy in charge. And there was no community within the first 25 minutes of the day starting. Morale had been crushed. Some people were a little bit too intimidated to even have a conversation and talk. And that then impacted on whether they were willing to show you or teach you things. And it was all came from that toxic mentoring right from the start. It was really hard. It was a big learning curve that, to be honest, some people they might not have turned up the next day.
Yeah, I've had it throughout my career in construction. I started out as a ground worker, and I can think to many times throughout my career where some older person who knows it all, who's done the job for a long time, and like you said, it's my way or nowhere. You know what I mean? Just get it done. I remember once being in a pit hand digging, and it was a red hot day. It was hard hand digging, and I was working my ass off. I wasn't taking the piss here. I was giving it a go, and then one of the supervisors or one of the bosses, who everyone was kind of scared of, when he came on site, everyone would be like, "Oh shit, he's here." But I'm digging away, and he came over, and he was like, "Is this all you've done?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, he jumped into the hole with me, grabbed the shovel, and he was off like crazy for about 20 seconds, absolutely out of breath and everything. He went, "That's how you use a shovel." And I just remember looking at him and at first thinking, all right, but then I thought I was like, you can't do that for 8 hours in a day. So yeah, you've just done that for 10, 20 seconds and look how knackered you are. But he went away, and then I felt that pressure then. I had to work even harder than what I actually was, because he wanted it done and he wanted it done quick. But my morale dropped massively, and then confidence drops. And I mean, it has a major impact on. And if you're going through that day in and day out, if you've got a supervisor or a manager who treats you like that, then it is going to impact your mental health, but even your physical health. You know, with construction, it's a tough job. It's hard work, as you know. But yeah, you get some people who have just got no idea how to actually talk to people.
No.
Like for me, if he'd just come over and had a conversation with me and said, "Look, I know you're working hard, but I need you to work a little bit harder, just push it a little bit more," then I'd have probably thought, yeah, even though it's hot and I can do more. Yeah. But it's about how you speak to people.
Yeah, very, very much. Effective communication's key, isn't it, in life in general? And I've always been of the mind that whether you're in a boardroom or whether you're on a construction site, the most important thing to any leader, in my opinion, should be to create new leaders. That's what they should be looking for. They should be encouraging people. And okay, they'll know that not everybody's either capable or wants to do that. But that's what they should be looking for. And to do that, you've got to speak to people on the level. You've got to praise them when need be. You've got to pull them up when need be. But yeah, this environment and that can be so damaging on your mental health. And also, it's the ramifications of that on the other people around you. I think you mentioned before, Steve, you know, a person under that sort of pressure can go into a crew room and crush the atmosphere in a second. You know, we've all felt it, haven't we? We've all felt it, and it's all come from how he or she was spoken to earlier in the day. That to that guy or girl who delivered that, you know, treatment to you, he wouldn't give you a second thought. He'll be off telling the next person off. He got no idea of the damage he's done. No,
and that then ripples throughout the site, and as we mentioned, morale drops.
Yeah,
and then nobody wants to do a day's work. You're just turning up to get paid. You're not actually that bothered about what you're doing, because the way you get spoken to, it's like, well, why should I? And I've had that on site, and I know many other guys who have felt like that on site. Yeah. Why put all my effort into these when the treat is like this? Now, I've also worked for some amazing companies with some amazing supervisors who will have good, deep conversations with you. And like when I was a supervisor, I remember I'm not the best concrete finisher in the world. And we had a few young lads with us who was concreting. And this guy, he was making a mess more than actual finishing the concrete. But one of the other guys came over to him, grabbed the float out of his hand, and basically said, "Fuck off, I'll do it, you shit." Now, his confidence in that moment, it was only 19, his confidence has just gone. Do you know what I mean? I then went over to that guy and I said, "Look, why speak to him like that? Why not just get the floor and explain to him exactly how to do it? Show him how to do it." Like, this guy was absolutely brilliant at what he did. And I was like, you're really good at what you do. Show him how you do it, your technique. Yeah. Then he's going to be really, really good as well. And then once this guy realized how it reacted and he was under pressure because we had to get it finished. But instead of controlling that, and he was like, "Oh, give me it, I'll do it." But if you can just take 2 minutes, I think it took about 5 minutes to show this kid exactly how he did it, his technique. Within 10 minutes, it was miles better. And the guy then, the supervisor then came over to me, the other guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have spoke to him like that." And I was like, "No, because we need to be bigging each other up. We need to be helping each other, not pushing each other down."
Yeah. No, for sure. And you know, if he'd have just took a few minutes, no one. Let's get real. This is life, isn't it? As you say, you've all got to get finished. The clock's ticking. He's not going to give a full tutorial, but let's be honest. If he'd have just took a couple of minutes to say, "Well, try doing it. This doesn't work very well, but try that." That kid could have ended up turning out after a few weeks as good as him. Then he'd have been a great asset to the team.
And that is it. But if you don't show him what to do and give that positive talk, if you're just negative and on at them, then they lose that confidence in themselves. And then when they get left to do a job by themselves, or this needs doing, they're going to be like, they're going to panic attack it. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah. No, and that's a real thing, isn't it? Anxiety and panic attacks, especially, if they're new, but it can affect any age. And I think if I dare say the word advice, the only advice I would give to people in this position that are all of a sudden felt under the pressure, under the cosh, sometimes embarrassed, is to not to react. Take what they've said and have a minute. Even don't react, respond with a big difference.
Yeah, just let it drop.
Let it drop. Which I was terrible at when I was younger. Steve, I'd have honestly, I'm a real old fart now, but back in the day, I'd have had a row in an empty house. It was awful. So I totally get it. But
I was the same, and then I read a book called The 5 Second Rule. When I was studying and training, doing what I was doing for my own self-awareness, so my own self-development, and the book was called 5 Second Rule. And basically, what it is like, it's a bit like the chimp paradox, where your chimp brain kicks in. And you don't stop and you don't think, you just respond. And with the 5 second rule, it's literally someone says something to you, and instead of snapping instantly and saying, oh, well, you do this then, or I'll go and do that, or I'm not, just literally in your head, take a breath.
Yeah.
And then count back from 5 to 0.
Yeah, it's great advice.
And in that time, that emotion has just dropped. So instead of saying something, and I used it in relationship and all sorts, and like with my partner, she used to say something to me, and I'd bite and I'd say something back. Once I'd read this book and learnt this 5 second rule, and just took a breath, let the emotion drop, the relationship was completely different, because we won't argue, bickering as much, because I want instantly coming back with something. And it's the same in that situation on site. Somebody comes over to you and has a go at you and says, oh, this, just let them do that.
Yeah.
But then just walk away, take a breath, let them do what they're doing. Yeah. But then for me, you've got to go over at some point and have a conversation with that person.
Definitely.
Or even somebody above them, and just say, look, this is out of order. Do you know what I mean? And because there's always going to be that atmosphere. And if we talk about it, once that guy's calmed down a little bit and the job's got done, you go over and just say, look, I'm sorry, but I've never really done this before.
Yeah.
And if you show me how to do it in the way that you do it, then maybe I can be better at it next time. Do you know what I mean?
I really do. It's great advice, mate. And also that person who's absorbed it, taken a second, not reacted, but then has gone to the supervisor or whoever may it be. It might even be an hour. It might be right at the end of the day. That's a really important part of it, isn't it? Because that person will take less baggage home with them mentally, because they'll if they don't, they'll be thinking all night, oh, I should have said something, or I wish I, and then the next day is ruined as well. So, and I know this all sounds very idealistic and you could still have a bad day, but we're just trying to talk from experience, aren't we? And we're trying to share the things that helped us, I suppose.
And there's many situations throughout my career where I wish that if something had been said, or I'd witnessed something, and I've just let it go. And like you said, you go home, it's on your mind. Then you end, like for me, I'd think, oh, I'm going to have a beer. I'm going to block it out a little bit. I always had a few beers after work. But then sort of time passes, now it'll get mentioned the next, and then too much time's gone by. So you think you can't say anything now because it's gone, but that morale's still low.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, if you can, on that same working day, like you said, even if it's just before the end of the shift, even for the one who knows that they've been out of order, rather than just letting it go over and apologise and say, I shouldn't have spoke to you in that way. And there'll be people watching this probably who recognise that in themselves. You know, I was out of order a couple of days ago. I had a go at so-and-so because he was stood about, or go and speak to them and explain to them why you were feeling the way you was feeling. And I think one of the big things that I talk about a lot as a speaker and as a coach is emotions. Because guys, we don't really talk about our emotions, but if we don't talk about them, they build up to a point where we do take out on someone else. So I mean, if we're going through something in our personal lives, maybe having an argument with a partner or a bit stressed, and then we come to work and someone's not doing something how we want it done or at the speed or the technique, then all of a sudden, all that emotion that you're holding down from what you've brought to work is going to spill out on somebody else.
That's right.
So the more emotionally kind of mature or educated we can become to understand how our emotions are, what emotions we're feeling, talk about our emotions, then it just makes everything a lot better. And within a business, no matter what business you're working for, we're a team. We've all got the same goal. We all want the project finished, whatever the job is. We all want that doing, and we want it doing right, and we want it doing safe. So if we've got to work.
Sorry, man. I cut you off.
No, I was going to say, so we work as a team, and if a team ain't working right together, if there's a bit of conflict, the only way you're going to get through that is by talking.
Yeah, it's the key. It's the key to everything. And you made a good point about the emotions. You know, for us guys, it's not always easy, is it, to be in touch with our emotions? But you know, I personally believe that inner confidence can sometimes get mixed up with arrogance and being too confident. Yeah. Absolutely not. I think if you believe in yourself and you trust yourself and you recognize yourself, who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, etc. If somebody recognizes that in you, they will recognize you, and it will come out of your pores. And they are far more likely to support you and give you that extra sort of confidence boost, because they think, he's got something or she's got something. You know, he hasn't quite got it right today, but he's asked the right questions and he hasn't gone home with his tail between his legs or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've all done that. But I think we have to just believe in ourselves a little bit more in any situation. And it can be, you know, a bit dogmatic, the site, can't it? It can be male dominated, and it can be fast paced. And there are people, most of us, but there, you know, one or two on there that are under particular pressure. That might be financial pressure for the job. Their boss might be in their ear. And it just takes a small, perfect storm for them to treat somebody badly. Now, then we don't want that to affect us, crush us, and make our day terrible, make potentially our week terrible.
Potentially, if that's coming downhill to the guy on the tools or the boots on the ground, because somebody had a bad day at the top, as you said, it gets past, and then the day it escalates, and then all of a sudden you've got an accident or an incident on your hands because you've pushed somebody into getting something done. Similar to my accident. Like, we shouldn't have been doing that job, but it was pushed on us because it needed doing.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to go into all of that because most people know of it. If not, they will hear more of it. But yeah, we was doing a job we shouldn't have done, and we even stopped the job. But the manager was under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, so he was probably getting it from the client above.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being an accident, an incident.
Yeah.
So again, the more we can all kind of work together, communicate, talk about our issues, whatever they might be.
Yeah.
And if someone is under a lot of stress, especially at kind of management level, and they're taking it out on team leaders, supervisors, because they're getting it from somebody else, they need to recognize that in themselves. And it's about how we speak to people. It's about everything can work out and everything can be really, really good if the communication's good.
Yeah, definitely. And even if it's through things, I mean, some of these managers and supervisors don't necessarily have it in their skill set to tell somebody exactly why they're under so much pressure. But even if when they do things like simple toolbox talks on the site, if they use that as a channel to say to the guys and the girls, oh, and by the way, you know, we're under a bit of pressure from this, there's a bit, you know, and put it in the way that people will understand without all the details, but they'll understand that there's another angle of pressure here. So teamwork and communication today is even more important. And maybe that one person that's struggling a little bit that day for whatever reason could just be tired. You know, goodness me, lack of sleep's a killer, isn't it, for everybody? But just talking properly and making them all feel like a team member, part of that team, that could prevent that accident, couldn't it?
Yeah, and that's a big part of that is about being connected. It's about
Yeah.
everyone feeling connected. And you know yourself, I know James and Craig spoke a lot about addiction on another episode. It's about, if we lose that connection, we kind of lose ourselves a little bit. And that's when we lose confidence. Through my trauma, when I was drinking and PTSD, anxiety, I went from being one of the most confident guys anyone knew to having no confidence whatsoever. Like, couldn't leave the house type of confidence. And so I know what it feels like to have no confidence, no self kind of. I didn't love myself.
Yeah.
Now,
You get that.
I remember when I was a kid, like if somebody looked confident, my mum would be like, "Oh, he loves himself," and I see it as a negative. And I think I mentioned in the other podcast. I now know as a coach, we should all love ourselves massively.
Definitely.
And it doesn't matter who we are. You should be completely confident in your own person, you as a person.
Yeah.
Because we'll get one shot here, and if you're struggling because of lack of confidence, or it's gonna have a major impact. Whereas that little bit of confidence, whether it's in yourself, which is then going to play out in your work, in the way you talk to people, in the way you are, confidence changes your life completely.
Yeah. Oh, it really does. You know, a lot of what you said there, and thanks for sharing that, mate. But again, I'm not going to go too much into my long story either, but just to explain why some of your stuff resonated, you know, it was only a few years ago, probably 2018, where there was a perfect storm for me. And Steve, if you'd have said to any of my friends, colleagues, anywhere, you know, Clive, do you think he'll be a candidate to have his mental health compromised? They say, he must be joking, Clive. Red hair, big gob. He's the guy that we go to for help, you know. He's involved in the trade unions and all that. So I was that guy, you know, more front than woolies, as my mum used to say. But I went from that guy to being, well, ultimately, I was in a psychiatric hospital for 10 weeks. You know, I lost my identity. The anxiety was ridiculous. You know, I couldn't drive. I couldn't see people. And eventually I was admitted. So if that doesn't say to people, you know, we are all potentially only a few bad steps away from having our mental health compromised. And it's up to us, Steve, isn't it, to do the best that we can to understand that resilience can be built upon. We can build our own resilience, and we're always a lot stronger than we ever imagined. And we have to listen to people, get all the experience and the advice that we can, but ultimately the buck stops with us. You know, when you're in a slump, and when you're in, you know, I had loads of help. You know, I've got 4 boys. They're all bigger and uglier than me. I've been married for nearly 30 years. I've got grandchildren. I've got a network that not everybody's got. You know, it's a real blessing. And without that, I don't know whether I'd have got out of all this as quickly as I did. But as I say, that is a blessing. But ultimately, all the love, all the help, all the support, Clive had to start rebuilding Clive. I'm sure Steve had to do the same, mate.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what anybody says or how amazing people tell you are. When your man's not there, you've got to build it block by block.
Yeah, you have.
And thankfully, like, we're both back to where we are. But something else, like you just said about, again, resilience. You might be at work and somebody might have it in for you, and they might be having a go at you and telling you that you're rubbish at this. And we've spoke about that and how that can impact your confidence and your self-worth and make you feel like you're useless and knock your confidence in doing it in the future. Or you could flip it, like we just said, and be resilient and understand he's obviously going through a tough time and he's taking it out on me. But I'm not going to take his opinion, isn't my reality.
No. It's
just somebody's opinion. And that's something else that I learned. Like, I used to take a lot on board what people would say, and I'd worry about what people was thinking. And a lot of that comes from ego, but I think part of my journey helped me to lose a big part of my ego. And now it is like, if someone's got an opinion, that's all it is. It's an opinion. It's not my reality. If they say, oh, he's this or he's that or whatever, then that's fine. But I'm not going to let it change me or what I'm doing. I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing.
Well said. Good advice.
So, yeah, so again, I think you need a lot of resilience within the construction industry.
You do.
There's a lot of different characters. Not everybody's going to get on. We're going to bounce off each other, and there's going to be certain scenarios. But if somebody does tell you, oh, you're useless today, don't take that as to heart. Don't take that as truth. That's just an opinion from somebody who's going through their own issues. Just let it bounce off. Put your barriers up. Take it away, and just carry on being yourself. Don't let it knock your confidence. Yeah, you've got to build your confidence.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. And also, what I always sort of remind people really is that the person that would be good for you to talk to ultimately might be somebody that you don't know at all. It might be the very last person that you expect. It might be somebody on that site who you've not met before, but just so happens that they're good at giving you a good listening to. And sometimes that can surprise you. But it really does help. And you can all of a sudden think, well, actually, I've just said all that to him or to her, and he hasn't run away and thought I'm a complete idiot. In fact, he's given me sort of instances where he's felt the same. And all of a sudden, you don't feel so silly. Because vulnerability is not nice, is it? Vulnerability can shake all of us, but you put light on your vulnerability, Steve, and it is so liberating because you're not the only one.
No, and a big part of me doing, and I'm guessing you're the same, but a big part of why I share my story and talk what I talk about, like the accident, but then how I'm really, really open about my mental health and my journey and the way I treat my family and the drinking and all of that. And what people tend to say to me afterwards is, God, you're so strong to stand up there and be so vulnerable, you know. And it's like, yeah, but if it's me being vulnerable up there and tears rolling down my face while I'm talking about my story, it shows other people, especially the guys in the room, it's all right to be vulnerable. It's all right to cry. It's all right to be struggling. And for me, that's kind of why I've ended up on this path doing what I'm doing. And
good on
you. I think vulnerability is it's hard, but at the same time, it shows a lot of strength, and you take a lot from that strength. Yeah, and that's for me why we need people talking. We need everyone working as a team within businesses. We need people to recognize when they are being a bit like hurt people is a saying. I mean, someone's going through a lot, that anger comes out on somebody else. Yeah. We've got to recognize that. And that's what I was doing after my accident. I was self-medicating. I was hurting inside. But anyone asked me if I was all right, I was like, yeah, I'm good, I'm fine. But then I was shouting at my kids. I was sending them to bed at 5 o'clock to get out because I needed, my head was hurting. Yeah. I was arguing with my missus. I was hurt, and I was, those around me, I was hurting. And I recognize that now. I didn't see it at the time. But if somebody watching recognizes that in themselves, they're sat there thinking, yeah, I snap quite a lot. I get angry easily. I take my frustrations out on so-and-so at work. Then if you're recognizing that and you're hearing that in yourself, then tomorrow just go and have a conversation with somebody and change the energy, put it right.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I would add to that if somebody out there is only at the point where they do recognize that their patience is thin, their concentration is useless, they're snapping at the kids, just the very fact that you recognize that is the most important first step, really. It might then take them a few more days to actually talk it out. But it's denial, isn't it? I was in denial of the fact that I got to the point where I barely didn't even, I'd have a journey in my car to go and see, a potential health and safety client in, I don't know, Birmingham or somewhere. And I'd get there and I don't remember the journey at all. I think, have I just been on the M6 for the last hour in the fast lane? And you think, that's not good, but you just carry on because life gets in the way. But if
Yeah.
that person, as you've just referred to, has recognised those two blokes on that podcast, it's resonated with me. I feel that. Good on you, because that's the first step.
It is. It's admitting it. And at the time of when I was in my darkest place, when I was in a hole, I thought I was all right. Looking back now, I know I was in a really dark place. I was having intrusive suicidal thoughts. I was sinking, but I just kept telling myself I'm dealing with it. But then that anger, that frustration was coming out on those closest to me, because that's what we do. And at the time, like, I know now, looking back, it wasn't just me who was like that. There's many of us, even that, like you said, now people watching this will realise they've got a bit of a short fuse because they've got a lot of stress getting put on them from work. So that's pushing them to the point they've got to let it out elsewhere. But if, like you said, if you're recognising that, if you're feeling that in yourself, then that's amazing. Like in the first step. But the next step is talk to somebody. Now, anybody listening to this can reach out to me on any of the social medias. As you know, Steve Kirby, SK Life Coach UK. I will give anybody some of my time. Do you know what I mean? If someone reaches out with a question, then ask me and I'll help in any way I can. But yeah, if you recognise it in yourself because you've sat and listened to this, then let's have a conversation.
Yeah, well said. And I'll mirror that. You know, www.Clive's Inspirational Hub .co.uk. You know, there's a contact page there, or LinkedIn, or however else you want to do it. But I do exactly the same. And you know, I do a lot of voluntary work in the prison service, for example, and I only mention that because I talk to guys and girls from, you know, double cat A right down to open prisons.
Yeah.
But the first time somebody came to me afterwards, asked the guard, "Can I just have a chat with Clive?" The fact that everything, and this is a guy that went from being, you know, I'm going to have a couple of hours out my cell and I'm going to listen to this bell end at the frontier for, you know, and just waste a bit of time. He went from that to thinking, wow, yeah, I do that. Or, God, yeah, I do like that sometimes. Or perhaps he's not talking at me, he's talking with me. And the feedback was amazing. So you'll know when you're speaking, because I get it, the positivity comes back to us, doesn't it? You know, when you feel like you've helped someone, or even if you've just had their attention and they've really listened, it comes back. So I applaud you for the amount of time that you give people outside of the paid stuff that you do. But I just want to mirror that and to say that I do already do that, and I will continue to do it, because if you can't help somebody along, then there's something wrong, isn't there?
Definitely. And I get many people after I've done my presentation, and I try and pick it up at the end and make sure everyone's energized and not sat there like, whoa. But I often get people coming out, guys especially, coming over to me saying, everything you've just spoke about with the anger, the frustration, the self-destructing, the gambling, the drinking, I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's my card, get in touch. And I've helped so many. Sometimes it's just one conversation. Sometimes it might be a few sessions.
Yeah.
But either way, once you admit it to yourself and you speak about it, that support is there.
You know,
so even if that support comes from us.
No, it is. I think it's a bit of accountability, isn't it? You know, I'm at fear of sounding a bit like my dad now, but apologies for that. But sometimes the generation between us, they're not quite so willing to accept things and feel accountable. And that's not to scare people or put pressure on or think that they've got to be some big, smart grown-up. I don't ever want to be a grown-up for what it's worth. No. You know, I don't want to do that. But what I'm saying is we're all, particularly in construction, if we can just own it, if we can just recognize it and be accountable for ourselves, recognize where we're feeling not 100%, and also recognizing reduced us from 100% down to 50%. And as you say, mate, talk about it.
Yeah, that's all we can. The more I can encourage, even just one person, just to talk, whether it's because you have been kind of picked on a little bit or bullied at work, and your confidence is low, then speak to somebody, get it built back up again. Speak to work. But again, if it's the person that is become a bit of a bully without realizing it, if it's the guy who's under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and is passing that down to the guys on the ground, on the boots on the ground, if he's listening to this now and he recognizes that, so like we said earlier, that is a massive step in actually recognizing that, and then having the courage to reach out and admit that I'm not coping. I'm not coping as best as I could be, because I wouldn't be acting the way I am if I was. So I need some help. I need some support.
Yeah.
But yeah, if this conversation encourages just one person,
it's worth it, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah, I think on a positive note, I think everything that is going on in a lot of the construction sites, especially the bigger construction sites that I speak on, I've spoke for recently, there is a lot going on around encouraging like mental health and well-being. It's not just like health and safety no more. It's health, safety, and well-being.
Yeah.
And
Very
there is
true.
a lot of focus. Yeah, there's a lot of focus going into that. And I think for me, the biggest part of all of it is talking.
Yeah.
And like you said, there might be a guy on site who you pass every single day and you've never once even said all right to him. Say all right to him. You might become best mates. So like,
yeah.
You never know, do you? But it's especially if you haven't got a lot of confidence and you are fairly quiet and you just like to get on and do what you're told to do and that's it. But again, 8 hours on a construction site can be a lonely day. So we don't want everyone stood about talking. It's not working, because then we're going to get into trouble for encouraging people. They'll be like, well, we saw that podcast and they said we've got to talk. And then there's no work getting done. But within work, like within mess time and all the rest of it, it's the more we can get together as a team rather than just working for the same company. If we all see ourselves as a team, we all feel connected. We all feel part of that.
Yeah.
Everyone talks to each other in the right way. We've got a safe space. The management, supervisors, team leaders speak to people on that same level. Then safety and mental health, well-being, that culture should run really, really smooth.
Yeah. It really could. The way I've seen this, when I was so pleased to sort of be asked to be involved with you guys. I think the way I see it, and this might sound a bit corny, but I think we're trying to build a community here, aren't we? It's bigger than just one day at work, taking a bit of advice and making yourself feel better. It's bigger than that. And I like the idea that you lifted the theme a little bit to a positive way there, Stephen, because there are companies out there that are really, and not all doing it because they've got to, because they want a particular badge in the gate. Some of them are doing. There's still some good gaffers out there, isn't there?
They genuinely want to. And there's a lot of people, like we say, everybody's got a story. And a lot of people have gone through, so especially on construction sites, have witnessed nasty incidents, accidents.
Yeah.
And they've learned from it. And like me, my attitude before my incident around mental health, if you said you were struggling, Clive, and you needed 2 weeks off because you don't, I'd be like, oh, man up, get on with it.
Yeah.
It's an excuse. That was I had no empathy or sympathy or anything towards mental health, because I hadn't really gone through it.
No.
It was only after I went to that dark place and I went on my own journey, all of a sudden, wow, it's real. I understood it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people go through some stuff before it has to change it. But if we can help educate people who haven't gone through something like that, but we can, by sharing our stories, we can educate them in a way where they're like, no, actually, I need to talk to people in the right way because I don't want this to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember feeling particularly vulnerable when I got home after being in the psychiatric hospital, and I couldn't go to the supermarket with my wife. I mean, I couldn't drive for 12 months anyway. That's sort of mandatory, but even if we pulled up at a petrol station and I was in the passenger seat, if somebody was pulled up that I knew, because it's a relatively small town that we live in, I'd say to Vic, drive off, I can't see him. Or that might have been somebody that, well, in one instance, it was my oldest friend and he'd have been the best person for me to bump into, but I felt so vulnerable. I mean, here's Clive, dad, friend, granddad, all these things. And all of a sudden, a massive identity crisis, confidence in my boots. And okay, so the anxiety had worn off mostly, and, I was strong enough to come home. But boy, did I feel vulnerable. And it was talking about it, not just to my wife, but to my boys, to my friends, to strangers. I started doing a lot of volunteer gardening to get me out of the house. And some of my best mates now are in their 80s, because I'm doing their garden. But they've got a wealth of experience. But the point of all this is that it lessened my vulnerability and my confidence started to grow. And I forged a new identity and found my old skills. And as you can tell, I found my voice again. And that put me on the journey of sharing, just sharing one intention, and that's to help.
And then, like I say, and I think that's most people who I've met who are now kind of wanting to share their stories, or they're working as a coach, or gone into psychology or counselling, or it's because we have been to that really, really dark place. We have gone on that journey. And like I always say that, like people ask me about the day of my accident, and I always say now, like, because they say, how did you survive, and blah blah blah, and I'm like, a version of me didn't. A version of me did die that day. And if I had to go through all that again to be this person I am today, as dark and as hard as it would, I'd go through it all again, because I prefer this version. And it's because I've been to that dark place. And now for me, every day is a blessing. And I know that sounds cheesy to some people when I say it, but
I get it.
Every morning I open my eyes, I'm thankful, because I know how easily it can be taken away.
Yeah.
And like I said, gratitude and everything else that I practice, it's something I'd have laughed at many years ago, but it's changed my life. It's changed my mindset, and it works. And
it took me, Steve. I'm 55 now. It took me to get into 50 to realize the art of gratitude. I'll be honest with you. I thought I understood it, and I would talk to my boys about it, and I'd encourage it, but I didn't really understand how gratitude works, but more importantly, how good it can make you feel. Being grateful.
That's what it's about, isn't it? It's you can say the words, but it's about the feeling. It's about what you're actually feeling, and that's kind of where we've gone with all of this podcast. We've spoke about vulnerability and about emotions, and it is about how you feel and what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And if you're highly stressed at work, if you're agitated, you're angry, if you can just take 10 minutes away from that and focus on the points that you are grateful for in your life, not just the obvious, like family, kids, all of that, but even the small stuff, even just looking out and seeing the trees, and like I'm looking out now to the bathroom way, and it's a really nice night, and I'm thankful that I get to look out to that, but I feel it. I feel happy. It makes me feel content, and that's what it's about. It's about creating them positive feelings within ourselves.
Yeah,
and the more you do that, it'll ground you, and you'll be less stressed, you'll be less snappy, you'll be less agitated.
Yeah,
but it's just having that bit of time to yourself.
Yeah, it is. I sometimes, probably earlier in my marriage, I probably thought that if I wanted time on my own, or just to be alone and just have some space, I'd probably be a bit nervous about asking, or not asking, but conjuring up a situation that would give me that space. Maybe you'd feel guilty, or you'd be worried about sort of starting an argument, or some of the stuff that we've all done. But now, my wife recognizes it in me anyway, where I need to go out and just do something in the garden or listen to a podcast or something. But I don't feel guilty about that. My family are everything to me, and I'm sure it's the same for you. But I'm not ashamed to say that I do need my own time, and the overwhelm slows down, the noise is quiet down a little bit. You get your thoughts back, And I can only do that if I have some time away from, the busy
And
life.
as a coach, I encourage any of my clients, no matter how busy their days are, to at least take 10 minutes twice a day where they walk away from the work fit, wherever they are, and they just go and sit in some grass or in nature or somewhere and just sit with themselves for 10 minutes and breathe. And that's it.
It enriches the soul, Steve, doesn't it? It really, really does.
It just changes everything.
God, we do sound like a pair of old farts now, mate, don't we? Really?
Well, I'm 47 in a few weeks. I am getting there.
Rub it in. There's me saying I was 55 and you've gone and killed me.
Yeah, I'm a bit younger than you, Clive. But, at least I'm sat on the sofa. On the last episode, I had to sit on the floor because my back was aching.
Oh, well.
I'm able to sit up. So, yeah, no, I'm feeling a lot better.
Good.
But yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot in this chat, and I think there is definitely stuff people can take away with them and question themselves, like ask themselves.
Yeah, that's the important thing, isn't it, mate? For us, it's good for us to share our stories and our experiences, but we've got to find a way, and hopefully we'll achieve that. We want that to lift away from the page, away from the screen, and actually resonate with someone and get them thinking, get them looking at the mirror a little bit, as scary as that seems, and all of a sudden realize that they're not on their own and realize that there are definitely ways they can help themselves. As
they say, like, I'm going to plug Andy's Man Club, but it's okay not to be okay. You know what I mean? A lot of people put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay not to feel shit. But as long as we're talking about it and we're dealing with it. And what I'm hoping is, from what we've spoke about, if somebody is putting a lot of pressure on people at work because they're under a lot of pressure, I hope, even if there's just one person sees this podcast and they learn from it and they question themselves, and it changes the way they're talking to people, changes the way they are, and it gets them to get support. Then for me, that's what this is about. Or if there's one guy who's going through a lot of shit at work, he feels a lot of pressure, somebody's bullying him, he finds the confidence to talk and to speak about it. And
well said. And anybody and everybody who's listening to this, either now or later on, share it with as many people as you feel that it might help. Follow this journey, because there's going to be so much more of this from so many different people. And don't forget to subscribe as well, because we are genuinely trying to build an effective community here, and we need you. We need you.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody watching, if you're still here, Built for Us, tell your friends, tell everybody. We want to encourage those conversations, and that's, for me, that's what this is about. So across all social media, Built for Us, give us a follow, go and subscribe. Cheers, Clive. Thank you very much for
thanks,
talking
Steve.
to me.
Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing everything that you've shared, and hopefully we'll me and you are going to be like we're going to be sort of competing with airtime, aren't we? We are definitely the two gas bags.
No, well, I think everyone that's involved, like, can all talk, can't we? It's what we all do as well. So yeah, it's difficult to shut us up sometimes, but no, thank you for tonight, Clive, and we'll chat again soon.
Hope so. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for viewing this episode. We really appreciate your support. Remember, follow us, subscribe, share with a mate, join us live. Built for Us. Let's build something stronger together.